I'm Jake Hall, the manufacturing millennial.
Jake, you talk about bridging the gap between traditional manufacturing and modern technologies. How do you see automation and digitization transforming the future of the corrugated industry?
Yeah. Well, when you have to look at manufacturing, you have to look back a few years. And I think for a long time, manufacturing was viewed as this dark, dirty, dull, dangerous, dumb industry where our parents, our grandparents, our guidance counselors told us not to go into. It was an industry that was, for a long time, your second career choice after going to get a 4-year degree in whatever you wanted to do. And then from there, hey, if you could do manufacturing and that was your last resort, that's what you went into. When we look at manufacturing and how manufacturing is going to shift and transform our industry, I think when you look at technology is the forefront of that. When you have millennials and Gen Zs who grew up with cell phones, who grew up with iPads, who grew up with touching screens and technology with their daily lives, we need to look at manufacturing is that has to transform our industry as well. So when you look at how is technology is going to change, we're going to have more information on our fingertips through AI, through digital touchscreens, through information, instead of collecting production data on a whiteboard or a post-it note or a piece of paper, you're going to be doing it on a screen now. Robotics is going to be changing the way we work. When we look at how do we get people excited about manufacturing to say, hey, it's innovative, it has technology, robotics is a big way as well. We're no longer doing things manually, by hand, by lifting pallets and boxes and doing palletizing and putting them on a carton manually. Hey, robots are at the line doing those manual, boring tasks. And I think a lot of it has to do with the industry right now is facing a massive labor problem. And in order for us to do that, we need to figure out how we can do a better job getting this next generation of millennials and then the future generation of Gen Zs excited about working in manufacturing.
We've touched on this, but let's expand on it. What key technologies should corrugated packaging manufacturers be paying attention to if they want to remain competitive in the next decade?
Yeah. You know, AI is a buzzword that's being used all over the place right now, from generative AI, which I think we first all kind of experienced through ChatGPT. But when you look at AI as a transformation in the industry, it's really going to make doing a lot of those really boring, tedious tasks easier to do. But before we do that, we need to make it so our machines are smarter, right? Because AI acts on data. And if we're not collecting data, we can't be, it's not going to be useful to us. So the first thing we need to do is how do we better modernize our manufacturing processes and equipment? Now, here at the Supercore Expo, we have a lot of cool technology. There's a lot of machines on the floor right now that are smart, that plug right into the internet, that can go right to an AWS cloud and pull data and trends from. But for a lot of manufacturing, a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, they're still using older equipment. And they need to be able to make that equipment connect to a OT network, which then can connect to a cloud to begin to collect data to better understand on how we can make quicker changes and really push OEE and productivity forward. So AI is one, data is the other one. The last one I would say is just digitization, making it so our work instructions, our changeovers, when we're doing preventative maintenance, we're not opening up a 3-ring binder to be able to look at and saying, hey, here's the notes from Bill who did the machine 40 years ago. We need to be more modern in the way. And I think a lot of that's going to be through like digital work instructions.
Right, which brings me to this next generation. One of your goals is to inspire the next generation to pursue careers in manufacturing. And you've said we've got to make it more exciting. So, what are some strategies that some companies can use to attract and retain this younger group in the corrugated
Yeah.
industry?
Your community. And it's one of those things for so long, when we look back at the history of manufacturing, towns were built around manufacturing centers, right? They employed the local communities, they employed multi-generations of people. But I think we kind of lost our way where we were so focused on hiring who's the best candidate out of a different state or a different region and trying to buy people up. We forget that we should create a community based around it. And so what manufacturers need to be doing for next gen outreach is getting involved with local schools, getting involved with community college, vocational schools, doing a better job reaching the guidance counselors and saying, hey, there might be a kid who might not do the best in a 4-year degree setting for an engineering degree. But you know what? They're great with their hands, and they would be a great electrician. They would be a great skilled trade worker. They'd be a great apprentice. Here are 10 programs within your city that pay for your college, that pay you to learn, and that can get you educated in a way that's going to be employable for a long way down the road. When we look at welding, for an example, when you look at the mean age of welding is 54 years old. So the average welder in manufacturing is 54 years old. It was an industry for a long time that was looked down upon because it wasn't this 4-year degree of, you know, of what our parents told us to go and get. Like, hey, if you get a 4-year degree, you'll be successful. Well, that's not necessarily the case anymore. You're going to be graduating with $42,000 in student debt, which is the average public debt for a student. But all of a sudden, we're looking at skilled trades as a great way to become educated, to have a great career opportunity for many years to go. But unfortunately, if we're not plugged into our communities and we're not actively engaging, saying, hey, these are the types of jobs that we're offering, even outside of maintenance or engineering, it could be HR, it could be marketing, it could be communications, it could be design. There's so many different aspects of manufacturing where our story isn't told unless we're directly interacting locally.
Right. Very good. So then, if you're looking at the manufacturing landscape as a whole, what trends do you think will have the biggest impact on the corrugated industry in the next 5 years?
The biggest trends in the next 5 years. It's a tough one because, right now in the industry, I think there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to manufacturing. But if you look at what are the biggest trends, I think one of the biggest ones is going to be, how do we drive more efficiency out of our existing equipment? Not saying companies aren't going out and buying a lot of large capital purchases, but if we can look at existing processes on the floor right now and saying, hey, how can we push out, um, 4 to 5% higher OEE, or how can we make it so we are not running short staffed during a lot of our shifts? We can make it so we can have more people come in and drive productivity. We can run 2 full shifts. I think that's going to be the big thing. We're going to be driving and buying more capital equipment, but at the same time, I think a lot of manufacturers are going to be looking at and saying, hey, how can we do better with what we have right now? And how can we make sure as this next group of people retire, we make sure we have the tribal knowledge that's retained and stayed with the company to continue to grow for the next generation.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much, Jake, the
Absolutely.
manufacturing millennial, and we look forward to seeing you around Supercore.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.